Hello again to another Agricola React, and today we will be watching how Australia is turning 10,000 square kilometers of desert green. And it's coming from True definitely a new channel to me. So we'll be watching and see how it goes, and it's definitely something to kind of look out for it, because 10,000 square kilometers, that's a lot. So let's just go.
Imagine fitting all of Europe inside a place and still having room to spare. That's Australia.
Oh, sorry. Did he just said inside him fitting whole Europe and then he just used European Union countries? Oh yeah, he didn't. Oh, so it's not European Union, but there's this European countries minus Russia, is it? Well, there's... Okay, I'm not going to that deep end.
That's Australia, a land of wild extremes where modern cities blend ancient deserts, and one of the most ambitious environmental projects in history is unfolding. But here's the eerie reality. Australia is home to some of the harshest deserts on Earth. Temperatures can climb above 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Celsius. Rain is as scarce as snow in the Sahara, and the dry ground looks almost like the surface of Mars. But what if I told you that some of that desert is turning green? Here's where our story takes an unexpected turn. Australia is working hard to plant trees on more than 10,000 square kilometers of dry, damaged land, an area bigger than Lebanon. This project isn't just about planting trees, it's about restoring...
Okay, well, what kind of trees are they planting? What kind of plants? Are they native?
The Yara Biodiversity Corridor. But how did Australia's land become so desertic, and what are scientists, conservationists, and indigenous communities doing to fix it? Australia is massive. It's the 6th largest country in the world, yet its population is just 26 million, less than half of the UK.
I did not realize that it's so
only
small
2%
population.
of its population lives in the yellow area, because most of it is an uninhabitable desert. The land is shaped by harsh geological and climatic forces. The outback, that endless stretch of red sand and rock, is dry because Australia lacks high mountain ranges to trap moisture. Most rain falls along the coasts, while the interior remains brutally dry. The Great Dividing Range along the east coast catches some rainfall, but once you go inland, the landscape turns into an arid wasteland. The climate change is only making things worse. Higher temperatures and declining rainfall are expanding deserts and making droughts more extreme. Entire rivers, such as the Darling River, have dried up in places due to both reduced rainfall and excessive water use for agriculture. But human activity has played an even bigger role. Now, here's something that might surprise you. These deserts weren't always this way. When European settlers arrived in the late 1700s, they encountered a very different landscape. Much of Australia was covered in native forests and grasslands managed by Aboriginal peoples for over 60,000 years. Indigenous Australians used to control burns, a practice known as fire stick farming. This method prevented large wildfires, promoted
I don't remember if I watched this in one of the reaction videos or I just watched it in one of the videos I'm interested in. But this very similar situation was in the forests and natural lands of California, where actually I think America and most of the wildlife places around the world, if you start looking into history, the local people that they were there, like in case of Australia, Aboriginal people, and in case of Americas, they would be Native Americans. They did have those controlled burns. So basically, as I understand that, those controlled burns basically prevented from buildup of dry material that obviously comes from trees because it grows. And there's leaves falling down, especially in deciduous trees and stuff like that. And that, thanks to that, because they had those controlled burns every now and then. I'm not saying every year or 2 years, but every few years. Maybe it was every year even. But basically the burns are kind of needed for that, because thanks to that buildup is not going to be big enough to cause massive burns of forest and everything around it, that it can't be under control, like what's happening in past few years in California, isn't it?
A variety of plant life and kept the soil healthy. When European settlers arrived, they stopped these traditional practices, which allowed thick undergrowth to
Another
build up
similar thing,
and
isn't
led
it?
to more destructive wildfires.
Or
The
us
settlers
Europeans
saw
are
Australia's
just...
vast open space.
I mean, like, obviously this is in the past, and all those people were thinking, oh, we're doing better, we're more civilized and all that, but it's not every time is not true. Like, I mean, it's not doing something because more in the way of a more kind of like civilized way doesn't mean it's better. So like in this way, for thousands of years, people were managing those forests and land and stuff like that without bigger problem that could actually, like they could survive off it. And then the Europeans coming and they're just like, no, we're not going to do that. And by the way, we're gonna cut out all of the trees because we needed lumber for whatever, building houses and things.
This is as an opportunity. They cleared millions of acres of forests and grasslands to make room for farms and livestock without realizing how delicate the ecosystem was. Nearly half of Australia's native forests were cleared, and half the continent's trees were gone in the blink of an eye, historically speaking. We're talking about an area larger than Texas and California combined. Unlike Europe, where rich soils can recover, Australia's land is ancient and low in nutrients. Once the forests were removed, the thin topsoil eroded quickly, turning once green areas into deserts. This process of desertification spread fast, leaving dry, barren land that could no longer support plant or animal life. The loss of forests not only hurt plants, it also devastated native animals. Many species, such as the Tasmanian tiger, were hunted to extinction. Others, like koalas and numbats, lost their habitats and are now endangered. Australia has one of the highest extinction rates in the world, with over 100 native species disappearing since European colonization. For many years, conservationists warned about the dangers of mass deforestation. However, it has only...
Yeah, because it is a danger, because, like... how to explain that? Like, basically, everything is connected, I think. Everything is connected in nature, so basically... You can kind of see that in the fact that when the wolves were introduced to, was it Yellowstone National Park? And that actually came as a positive impact. That actually, the fact that those carnivores, what the wolves are, isn't it? It was a positive impact on the whole environment there, because basically they were natural predators to all the deer and all of the herbivores that they were basically decimating all like plant life in. Maybe not decimating, but I was doing a lot of cause because there was no natural predator for them. So they could just the fact that the wolves were reintroduced, it kind of helped the actual overall health of the whole park. Yeah, there's a long ad now ahead, so I'll be seeing you in a second. Thank you. Alright, and I'm back. So let's just jump back in and keep going and see. Actually, I really hope that what they're doing is like a native species, because obviously I'm presuming, like I'm like 99% sure that that's what they're using. So
It's been in recent years that major actions have been taken to try to reverse the damage. Turning a desert green isn't a matter of randomly planting trees. It requires strategic reforestation. Experts now use biodiversity corridors to create connected networks of vegetation, ensuring that new plantings thrive and support local ecosystems. One outstanding example is Australia's Yarra Yarra Biodiversity Corridor. This ambitious project tackles centuries of ecological degradation with innovative reforestation techniques. Located in Western Australia's Northern Agriculture region, a globally recognized biodiversity hotspot, the corridor demonstrates how to balance carbon capture with ecosystem restoration in vulnerable semi-arid landscapes. Launched in 2008, the corridor has expanded from 14,000 to 18,000 hectares by 2022. Its focus on rehabilitating degraded agriculture lands in the Wheat Belt region, where more than 97% of native vegetation has been cleared. Recent satellite data reveals that the corridor now stretches 200 kilometers, linking 12 nature reserves across 10,000 square kilometers of restored terrain. The primary objective is to sequester and store carbon for 100 years. By the project's end, it's estimated that the trees already in place will have captured over 1.06 million tons of CO2 equivalent, a figure expected to grow as restoration continues. Historically, the Yara Yara era was home to vibrant woodlands. However, since Europeans arrived in the early 1900s, traditional farming practices cleared approximately
1900s?
97% of the vegetation. Today, soil degradation and a drying climate make large portions of the landscape unsuitable for conventional agriculture, while native species struggle to survive amid habitat loss. The solution is simple. Reconnect isolated patches of forest by planting trees and native vegetation in between. This creates corridors through which wildlife can move freely, access food, and rebuild their populations. Of course, planting in such arid conditions presents significant challenges, but the ongoing success of the Yara Yara corridor offers a promising path forward. For trees to thrive in the desert, they require more than just planting. They need a comprehensive support system. Scientists begin by selecting a mix of 30 to 50 native trees and shrub species, including variants of eucalyptus, acacia, banksia, and
That's a cool looking plant.
These indigenous plants, which have evolved over thousands of years in Australia's challenging conditions, provide essential benefits.
Sorry, I have to check something before I forget, because I'm kind of wondering how the fruit of banksia looks. This is like, I'm really interested in that, because is there obviously this hard fruit. The fruits of banksia, called follicles, are hard and woody and are often grouped together to resemble cones, which they are not. True cones are produced only by conifers. The fruits protect the seeds from foraging animals and fire. Here. So this is how it looks. Oh, okay. So it's hard enough to actually be able to do. Look how cool that plant is, though. Look, guys, isn't that cool? Oh, looks like it's not easy to get to it either. So it's obviously not edible. What? Well, I would probably be up for trying it out. But let's just go back now to the video. There you go.
Trap moisture and gradually improve soil quality, making the environment more hospitable for new growth. Water management is another critical component. Instead of relying solely on unpredictable rainfall, the project employs drip irrigation systems and water-retaining soil additives to nurture seedlings through their early vulnerable years. Additionally, some initiatives incorporate fog catchers, devices designed to capture moisture directly from the air, thereby irrigating plants without depleting groundwater reserves. Enhancing the soil's fertility is also key. By enriching dry, degraded soils with added nutrients and organic matter, the land becomes more conducive to plant growth. Researchers are even experimenting with biochar, a type of charcoal that improves soil structure by retaining water and nutrients. Finally, ensuring the longevity of these reforested areas is essential. In fact, Australia recorded an increase in forested areas by 4.4 million hectares, the second largest growth of any nation. Australia went from losing 434,000 hectares of forest between 1990 and 2010 to gaining 446,000 hectares.
China is number one, huh? And then India, Chile, Vietnam, Turkey.
Conservationists are partnering
Interesting.
with local farmers and landowners to integrate sustainable agricultural practices that support the new ecosystems rather than harm them. This collaborative approach helps maintain the delicate balance between restoration and ongoing land use. By addressing these factors, species selection, water management, soil enrichment, and long-term protection, desert reforestation projects can create resilient, thriving landscapes even under harsh conditions. As the forests expand, wildlife is making a promising return. Researchers have documented an increase in bird populations in reforested areas, while species once forced to retreat, including wallabies, echidnas, and small marsupials like bandicoots, are beginning to reclaim their former habitats. The corridor has become a refuge
A
for
bandicoot is a real
450+ native species,
animal?
including 22 threatened animal populations. A particularly notable success is the resurgence of the malleefowl, with 12 new breeding mounds. This rare ground-dwelling bird, which relies on dense vegetation for nesting, is slowly reappearing in regions where it's been absent for decades.
Cool.
The Carnaby's black cockatoo has seen its nesting pairs increase by 18% since 2020 due to restored Banksia woodlands providing
Okay.
food and nesting hollows.
So that's
Finally,
who's
the
eating
western
Banksia
spiny-tailed skink population
fruits,
density
huh?
tripled in areas with 5 years
What is
plus
this?
of revegetation.
Cool.
Floral diversity exceeds initial projections.
I
with
love flowers.
62
Look,
native
guys.
plant species reintroduced,
62.
15 of which were previously locally extinct. Pollinator networks have rebounded, with native bee populations showing 40% higher richness compared to adjacent agricultural.
Fun fact: did you ever see the Australian blue bee? Here, I'm gonna find it because I need to find it first. I'm gonna show it to you. I have to share that with you because it's absolutely adorable. Blue bee, Australia blue. Here you go. Isn't that the most adorable thing ever? Look, guys. Isn't that cute? I think it is. It's really cool too. Like a blue bee. I always think like blue would obviously be we're gonna be like yellow and brown, but
Beyond its ecological benefits, the project is making significant strides in carbon capture. As natural carbon sinks, forests absorb CO2 from the atmosphere, playing a crucial role in mitigating climate change. Recent studies suggest that large-scale reforestation efforts across Australia could remove millions of tons of CO2 over the coming decades. While the transformation is gradual, the steady return of wildlife and the measurable impact on carbon capture underscore that this reforestation initiative is indeed working. Australia's reforestation efforts are far from over. Plans are in place to expand biodiversity corridors into new regions and transform even more desert areas into thriving ecosystems. Remarkably, this approach isn't limited to Australia. Its success provides a replicatable model from other arid regions around the globe, from Africa and the Middle East to the western United States. Native desertification can learn from Australia's strategies and implement similar methods to reclaim degraded lands. Large-scale projects like the Great Green Wall in Africa, an initiative to plant trees across the entire Sahel region, are already taking inspiration from Australia's efforts. If you like this video, don't miss the invisible line that made and broke the US. Click on this video.
okay. Oh, did I forgot to put the screen in the back? I did. I don't know, how far did I go? Okay, well I'm just gonna have to put a little thing here. So anyway, that's a really cool way of doing it, I think. Especially the fact that they did focus on native species, obviously. Because reforesting and then using non-native species, not that great idea, I think. Anyway, I was talking through it, so I don't have much to add now. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you tomorrow. Bye!